Sama tayo dito, oh. Sa tour, oh.
Glorious and rare day in San Francisco. So, the tour is about 55 minutes long.
Wow.
And what we've done is we've asked everybody to sign in just so that we know how many people will be on the tour, and so that we know where you're coming from and how you look at it. Now, I'm a tour guide for San Francisco City Guides, and that is a non-profit organization. We're in a partnership with San Francisco Public Library and the San Francisco Park Alliance. And everyone associated with it is a volunteer, except for 2 paid positions in the office. And we have over 300 tour guides, and we're all volunteers and we've gone through training to do this. And we do receive, San Francisco City Guides does receive some funding. We have corporate sponsors with the Omni Hotel, the Palace Hotel, the Equity Office, and the Hotel Tax for the Arts Fund. So if you're staying in a hotel, we thank you very much. Some of your tax money is going towards San Francisco City Guides. But 80% of our funding comes from walkers like you. This is a free tour. However, at the end of the tour, if you would like to make a donation, please feel free to ask me any questions. I will do my best to answer them for you. And sometimes my answer is I don't know, but if you give me your email, I'll be happy to research it for you and get back to you, and that's fine. And I won't share your email with anybody else. Sometimes we just have a little one-on-one relationship. Okay, so if you sometimes will be passing other people, so just keep close to me. So first of all, where are we? You're in Japanese Tea Garden right now, but in the bigger scheme of things, we know we're in California, we know we're in the world universe, you know you're in San Francisco, you're also in Golden Gate Park. In 1869, this was federal land, and all that was here were sand dunes and fleets, nothing else in all of this area. And it belonged to the federal government, and they didn't want it. So they said to the city of San Francisco, if you will make part of this area a park, we will give you this land. And it is known as outside lands, and you may have heard of the concerts, the outside lands concerts, and that's why it's called that, because this area was all the outside lands. So San Francisco said, okay, we'll take this, even though it's all sand dunes and fleet, we'll take this. And they put in charge, in 1870, William Hammond Hall, who was a 24-year-old surveyor but with the Army, and he was the first park superintendent. And he was left with the park. He said, you know what, I don't think we're going to want to put a park here. I think we should put it someplace else. So, built a seawall. So he was very, very busy in starting Golden Gate Park, and he is known as the father of Golden Gate Park. So, one of the things that he does out here, so when you look around and you see all the rocks and everything, how did that get here? Well, quite a bit of land was trucked in from San Mateo County, a lot of the earth. And over half of the rocks that are here are not even rocks at all, but they're painted concrete and made to look like rocks, and that's throughout the park. So this is what has happened. The miracle of Golden Gate Park is that it was such a desolate place, and through a lot of ingenuity, the Midwinter Fair. And the Japanese Tea Garden was part of a Japanese village, and it is the enduring legacy of what is left of that Midwinter Exposition of 1894. Now, right here, I'm going to switch right over to here so you can see right where this lovely lady is. This right here is our gate pine, and it's a Monterey pine, and it's Northern California native. And the purpose of a gate tree is twofold. It is to let you know that, one, you've come into the garden and the outside world is out there, and you are now in here and you're in a different space, in a nice, calm, serene space. And the other is to scare off any demons that might have been trailing you to community. So the gate pine has two names. And this was planted by Mikado Hagiwara in 1898. And he came from a very wealthy family in Japan that received their wealth from a sake brewery and also from silk cloths. And the story of Japanese American includes the story of the Hagiwara family, who were the concessionaires here for 40 years. We're going to learn much. And one more thing about, before we hit Mount Fuji right behind me, is this gate that you entered into is the entrance gate. It was built in 1984 at the cost of $1.2 million. It was a gift from our sister city of Osaka, Japan.
Mahal naman yan.
And it is made of the cypress hinoki wood, which is very prized because it is very rot resistant.
Wow.
If you look behind
That's
me
1.2
there, and you
million.
see the tree with the yellow and green needles, that is a hinoki. And it's native to Japan, and it is often used in building entranceways. The government of Japan would not let that wood out unless Japanese artisans worked on it. So between 4 and 11 Japanese craftsmen built this gate. And it was as a tribute
Mount
to the
Fuji yan.
Abigar family who were from the Mount Fuji
Ni-stylean
area.
nila yan.
90% of all of the trees in Golden Gate Park.
That's mukhang lumang Japanese na bahay.
At a 360-degree view of San Francisco, as well as the gift shop. Now that has become a very popular place to get engaged. So that's why. And today I really heartily recommend it. I may do it myself because usually it's so foggy here you can't see that far. Today you might see very, very far. So and it's free. You can do it for free. And one of the things, a Japanese garden typically has clean lines, simple arrangements, and lots of balance and symbolism. And for example, these 3 rocks that you see here have a symbolic meaning. The tall one symbolizes heaven, the middle one symbolizes humans, and the one on the ground symbolizes earth. Also behind me you see the bamboo trees there, and that symbolizes strength in numbers. Now there's 4 types of Japanese gardens. The first one is a classical or Zen or dry garden, and we'll see an example of that later on the tour. The second is a commercial garden, which has usually the tea house in the front and the garden in the back. The third is a residential garden, which has the house in the center and the garden all around. And the fourth is a stroll garden, which is what this is. It's a stroll garden. And what you will see as you're strolling through the garden. It was gifted to the Japanese tea garden in 1966 by the department store Dumps in San Francisco, if you know that department store. And this is very typical of a water basin that would be outside of a tea house because you want to, of course, wash your hands before you go in and take your tea. This was found on a country estate outside of Tokyo that had been destroyed by bombing in World War II. And then this was found. And one thing that you would not know, you can come and do this tour all by yourself and walk around, but something that there's a few things on this tour that you would not know unless you took the tour, is that there's a turtle in there. And I'm going to show you that turtle. The turtle is a sign of longevity in the Japanese culture, of 10,000 years of longevity. And the turtle is in there all the time, and his little head is out of the water, and you can touch him for good luck and fortune, which is what I'm going to do. Thank you, Mr. After you touch the turtle, we're going to move back this way.
Hindi naman totoo eh. Hindi totoo. Bato lang.
Se entiende muy bien hasta chica,
Luego compramos chocolate, Paul. Algo que
Tengo en casa.
Pa ibang salita. I don't know where they're from.
The original design for the tea garden was done by a man named George Turner Marsh, who was an Australian man, and he built it for the Midwinter Fair. And he lived in an area, he lived at 8th and Cabrillo in San Francisco, and he called his home Richmond because he came from Richmond, Australia. And it ended up that the Richmond district in so after the fair, Mr. Marsh no longer wanted to be a concessionaire.
Oops.
So, Mr. Clarence, he needed to find someone who could take over the concession. And the thought, and he remembered that Mr. Hajiwara had been one of the designers of the Japanese.
Yung daw ang sunken garden.
Interested in Japanese tea gardens. Who then moved out to Outland and have the house there. And they were free. And Mr. Hajiwara's home, which had 17 rooms, was this spot right here. They never lived in it once it was placed here. It was really basically a party where they entertained people. Apparently it had a banquet room, it had 200 seats, and they entertained crown princes of Japan. Quite a wonderful place, but they lived up in the display house over here. So Mr. Hajiwara came back and he stayed and was the concessionaire until he died in 1995 with his wife, his daughter and her husband. And they ran the garden until 1937 when the son-in-law died. And then his daughter ran it.
We're gonna see a dragon. Huh?
But here it is. Behind you is a California sequoia. I'm sorry, it's a coastal redwood. And that is not a typical tree to have in a Japanese garden. And a lot of people wonder what Mr. Hajiwara would have thought of it. But John McLaren loved redwoods, so he made sure that there was one. There you have it, in flash again. We're going to move along to the classical garden, but before we do, we're going to stop at the hailstone path.
Ayun daw yung dragon. Joke-joke lang itong babaeng to eh. Joke-joke lang. Dragon, ito rin ulo. Oh, yan ang katawan. Oh, pinaligo lang yung halaman eh. Dragon na yan. Hindi ba pwedeng ahas muna?
You may have noticed that the whole ambiance has changed just a wee bit. Now we are along what is known as the sprinkled hailstone path. Above us are the Japanese maples, which are really gorgeous trees. I have 2 of them in my backyard myself, and they're very easy to maintain. They take a lot of cooking because the effect that he wants for them is a very lacy effect, so that the sun can come through. And the whole point of it is, as you look up through them, it's a very lacy effect. So here is the sprinkled hailstone path, and what's really nice about this is that you can, when the ground is wet, you can walk along here without getting your feet wet because the stones are raised as to where the water point is. Also, when you see the little pools, they're